Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Ryan. Today we are working on some nostalgia. So we found this thing needed a tune up, needs some timing. Timing was way out. So we got everything dolled up, got the vacuum line situated, and now we need to slow down that 187 horsepower that it makes. So Wilwood's got a kit, calipers, pads, brake lines, and all the fittings and stuff to go on the front end of this car. The other stuff was leaking. We'll get into that, and I'll show you the old stuff coming off, and then we'll get into the new stuff going in. So anyways, let's get to slowing this old girl down. So what were you doing in 1977? This thing is super cool. All original pretty well. It's got the smog stuff taken off of it. Old 350. Automatic car. I think a turbo 350, I'm pretty sure. All the fixings in the Corvette. So much uncomfortability. Anyways, she's shiny and she grabs attention. Let's get to working on it. All right guys, now that we went over the car, we're gonna go over the brakes. So we're diagnosing the brake pull to the left on the last little bit of braking. So right at the stop, the steering wheel wants to go to the left a little bit. These cars, it's a 4-piston, I guess it's a cast iron caliper. They're pretty heavy, but they're notorious for the pistons to leak. And it was pretty evident once I got the passenger side wheel off what was going on. So basically pressure is bleeding off the passenger side caliper into the brake pad. It's got the paint aid off the caliper, all that stuff. So we're gonna get into replacing the calipers, brake lines, and there's a AN fitting that goes to the factory line here. We're putting a Wilwood kit on this car. Comes with everything you need. I don't think it comes with the new caliper bolts, same thread, but I'm gonna put some new bolts through the spindle or through the bracket into the caliper. Other than that, everything you need is in the kit, brake pads, pins. We're gonna leave the rotors. They're not in bad shape. And the car's had some brake work fairly recently, and it's a shame the pads are bad because they're nearly new. But here we are. So we're gonna take those old stuff off, get this new good looking stuff on, and cover them back up with some old Chevy Rallies. So before we get real crazy taking stuff apart, I always try to hit this old stuff with this Kano Aero Coil. Definitely not paid by them. This stuff is fairly expensive around me, but it works and is well worth its money. You can get it, definitely worth trying. So here are tools that we're using. Needle nose, I think we use those to get the safety clips off the brake hoses. 5/8 socket, shallow. These are for the brake line, 7/16 and an 18mm, along with a 3/8, a blunt tip, chisel, hammer, screwdriver, and a dead block. I don't really expect this to be a real tough job, as long as none of the bolts break. We're off to a good start. I'm just going to take the old calipers off, hook to the hoses, just let them hang by the hoses, then we're not reusing them. And mount all the new stuff up, make sure everything fits well, and we'll get into the fluid. Too shabby. I don't know if that's rust, Loctite, or anti-seize on these bolts. They're not coming out real smooth. Definitely rust. All right. It's that simple. Well, it's never easy. So our tube nut there is stuck to our brake line. I've heated it lightly. I don't want to get crazy with it. So what we're going to do is I do have it spinning inside of the fitting. So what I'm going to do is I've got the brake caliper supported. I'm just going to spin the hose out from under the tube nut, and the fittings that the Wilwood kit comes with basically have a conversion fitting from whatever this thread is to an AN. I believe it's a -3 or -4. So that's a non-issue. Once he gets to where he wants to replace the brake lines, we'll be fine. I am not an advocate for compression fitting, so we will backdoor this, so to speak. We'll fix it later. Well, we turned a problem into no problem. Basically did what we talked about, just spun the hose off of that, dropped it out of the way. New fitting from Wilwood, just threaded it up to the line. That's still stuck. It's unfortunate, but we were able to make the best of it and it will work. So here's our kit. This is just one side. The other side is just as complete. Part number, caliper. Does not come with bolts. You could use the factory bolts. You get your brake pads, line, and fitting. And then the adapter fitting to the car is already on. All right, so let's get our caliper mounted here. 2 bolts. I did go get some new bolts from the bolt getting place. And did go with grade 8 also. It says to use red Loctite on this fine thread. We use the blue Loctite. I'm sure we'll be taking it apart to do other stuff, so didn't want to have to fight the red Loctite. Torque these to the proper spec. It feels about right. Yep, that's good. Well, don't these look cool? Too bad we're gonna cover them up with some Chevrolet Rally wheels. So anyways, take the brake pad pin out and these tappy pads down in place. Put them in square first. That's why we got the dead blow out. Perfect. It is that simple. That's just what they say. All right. If you didn't lose your clip, your spring clip, I'm gonna put it back in. I had already taken the liberty to do the passenger side just to make sure I wasn't gonna look like a dummy. And yeah, this shot across the shop. So you can see what I'm talking about here. That little fella. Yeah, it's got some tension. There we go. That's the video. Wilwood did a fantastic job with these parts on these cars. Bolt in, no modification, everything worked. So aside from bleeding the brakes, we're pretty much done with this thing. Got some other things we want to do. Probably going to do some master cylinder upgrades. Looks a little rough, so got to have that chrome. Other than that, guys, as always, appreciate you watching. You guys, if you don't mind to hit that like and subscribe, that kind of helps the channel grow, helps us get a little bit of traction with the other videos. Guys, have a good day. Appreciate you watching.